Kasama pa rin natin dito sa Kababayan Today si Chiara Paz. Chiara, we were talking about your going all the way, but in education. In education. So you really want to be in academics. What are the challenges of pursuing this kind of profession?
Well, first, there aren't very many role models out there, right? So we've got a lot of Filipino nurses. We've got engineers.
Doctors.
Doctors. But when you ask about Filipino academics in the professoriate, there aren't very many.
Konti lang. Bakit kaya?
Well, I mean, it's my speculation is that the socialization is different, right? And so it's very rare that you find parents saying, oh, I want you to become a professor. I want you to be in research. I want you to be in academia. And so, going to UCLA, I think I was exposed to that because of the classes that I took. And I guess you could say I'm also more of the, oh, well, let me try that. I know that might not be the most common career track, but I'm more of the, oh, let me be more adventurous in that way. And so that's how I ended up in this track.
Okay, so what are the challenges? Because academic life is tough. You're reading, you're writing a lot, you're researching a lot. What are the major challenges? Tell me about a life in academics.
Yeah. It could be isolating because, like you said, it's reading and writing, and that's what you do pretty much 24/7. In the beginning, it was a little bit hard because that's something that I had to explain to family, right? It's like, well, I don't really have a job, but I have to be in front of a computer for
all day long.
Exactly.
Right.
And not necessarily having a lucrative pay either.
Absolutely.
So it's more of an investment now for a later gain.
Yes, but it's, when I read about the paper that you sent me, you talk about feminism with a P.
Right.
Really, really interesting because it talks about your college experience being in college as a Pinay. Talk to us about the study that you did.
Well, so Peminism is a framework that actually I don't want to take credit for. This is something that my ates, should I say, in academia had coined. Alison Tintianco Cobales in San Francisco State is actually one of them. And they came up with this framework to describe the experiences of Filipinas and Filipina Americans and their struggle with the identity of being a colonized being, being a woman, and being an immigrant child in this country. So what does that mean to become a Pinay in the US and being a colonized being?
I'm getting goosebumps. Look at that. I really, really am. I mean, this is fascinating to talk about. So what does it mean? So again, it's kind of a lens, as we like to call it. It's a lens to understand what Filipinas, not just in college, but in all sorts of arenas, what they're experiencing. Explaining why they make decisions the way they do, explaining why they enter professions the way they do. And so again, it all boils down to what is the history of the Philippine-US, I guess, relationship in terms of the colonizing, the ties that was created when that colonization happened. Okay, and in the paper you identified two things, right? Can you talk to us about that? I remember it had to do with parents' expectations of their daughters.
Right. So so there's a differential expectation between sons and daughters, right? And so this is a study that's a very, it's a bit micro, I guess, cosm of the larger experience of Filipino Americans. It was about a dozen interviewees that I had, and they mentioned about expectations that their parents have of what they're supposed to be as far as their college major goes, as far as their postgraduate plans go.
What was the difference between being a lalaki, a man, a boy, as opposed to being a babae or kababaihan in academics? Right.
So so there's an expectation that they will not only pursue a lucrative job or lucrative major,
a more professional
job. But also make time for the family. So there's that I guess double role.
Yes, because they want you to make money and they want you to pursue something where you'll make a lot of money, but at the same time they want you to spend a lot of time with them.
Right.
Yeah, and that hardly goes hand in hand.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's definitely a challenge. If you imagine juggling responsibilities at home and going away to college, which, I mean, it's not so hard today, but you know, I've talked to students who've really had to talk to their parents about moving away.
Yeah.
For college.
I was talking to some Filipinas that hang out with a SPCN group, you know, they're doing cultural nights, and the parents were saying, why are you spending so much time with them? Why are you doing all of this? Why don't you go home? So the students were trying to explain that, no, I'm actually learning. I'm learning about my culture by hanging out with them, but the parents expected them to go home every weekend.
Right.
Yeah, so this is fascinating, and I want to read more about this, you know, and we'll talk more about this when we return. Dito lang po yan sa Kababayan Today. Don't go away, kasama pa rin natin si Chiara Paz.